Good evening. We'll call to order the regular monthly meeting of the City of Helotes Planning and Zoning Commission. It's February the 4th. It's 7 p.m. I'd ask the Commission Secretary to call the roll, please.
Greg Michelle.
Here.
Jason Whitman.
Here.
Ron Haza. Joe Edmond.
Yeah.
Richard Hawk.
Here.
Jeff Wade. Mike McLaughlin.
Here.
Mario Rios.
Great. And we also have with us tonight Ernest Cruz from staff, Susan Darst, Alex Blue from council, and Marion Mendoza. Welcome as the new city administrator. Glad to have you all here. We start tonight with citizens to be heard, and we actually do have someone signed up to speak this evening. Mr. Ed Coates, if you would approach, and if you would give your name and address. You have 3 minutes, and really this is an opportunity for you to talk to us to listen, and rather than dialogue, but it is your floor.
I am Ed Coates. I live at 13502 Spotted Horse in the Iron Horse Canyon subdivision. My backyard is less than 200 feet from these Iron Horse Canyon townhouses, which I consider apartments, that the city recently approved without any knowledge of any of me, my neighbors, or the homeowners association. So I'm not here to fuss too much about that because I think y'all can't do anything about it tonight, probably wouldn't anyway. But what I would like to know is where is the buffer zone? Because if the buffer zone is along Iron Horse Way, it doesn't do anybody any good. If the buffer zone is along the back, it would be the west boundary lines, then that helps out me and all my neighbors there that even live closer to it. And also, if there's any way that, right now, there are tall trees along the entire buffer property line that go within about 8 to 10 feet of the electric lines that are strung up there, which would also block it, because 15 years ago when I bought my property, I came down to the city and asked them, what was that property zoned over there as you come in on the right-hand side as you come up the road? Because I was concerned that people would build a strip mall over there. I didn't envision that, and they told me it was zoned residential. And so I guess they incorrectly assumed that that meant it was single family like the rest of the whole area. But I would like to find out, what's going on and so forth, and asked if, again, just a comment, did any of y'all go up there and look at it or drive up on Spotted Horse? Because as I understand it from several of my real estate friends, this will probably decrease the value of my house and my house of my neighbors there, as well as putting a lot more traffic out on the Iron Horse Way. And you think about it, if you're going to have 35 apartments there, you're going to have probably 70 cars and a lot of noise and so forth. And that's, my wife and I have the last 15 years, we enjoy sitting out on our back porch in the mornings, watching the birds and so forth, and having our breakfast, a cup of coffee. And then at night, because the house is shading it from the afternoon sun, we eat supper out there a lot of times and sit out there, enjoy it and so forth. And I would like to continue doing that. And so again, I know it's too late. I hope in the future y'all will take more in consideration of the people that you're directly affecting with your actions. But also, I would like to know exactly where the buffer zone is. And if it's not along the west area, what can we do to get it changed to that area? And also to ask them to leave the trees where they are, because I think that will mitigate probably 3/4 of it. And again, I asked that the city, if they're going to build it, to make sure that they stay within the time limits and not out there working at 10 and 11 o'clock at night, nailing up shingles and nailing stuff on, or up there, 6 o'clock in the morning, or that hopefully they do no dynamite, because my house doesn't have a single crack in it anywhere, and I don't want the ground shaking around there. So thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate your consideration.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And I'd like to suggest that after the meeting that you perhaps could take a moment to speak with city staff regarding the particular question you have that might be able to be addressed. And there's also an agenda item coming up that might speak to this, And that will then lead us right now into the council liaison report.
Right.
So,
I'm sorry, I've never been to P&Z meeting. I'm the president of the HOA. I didn't realize I needed to sign up to speak.
so did you have comments to make?
I just have some comments and I can answer one thing from his question.
Why don't you, I'll ask you to retroactively to please fill out one of these after you speak, but come on up, and if you wouldn't mind, tell us your name and your address. You
Yes,
have
my name is
3
David
minutes.
Cato, the president of the Iron Horse Canyon Homeowners Association, 13018 Wild Heart. In rebuttal to one question that Ed Coates had, there actually is a piece of property between the townhomes that are going to be built and the Riata that's owned by Man Development. So that buffer, again, the townhomes will not be able to touch that because that property is still owned, to my knowledge, by Man Development. At the same time, at the city council meeting where this item was approved a while back, there was an assumption that the HOA worked and approved with the plan that was presented. That is incorrect. We did meet with them, we discussed various options, and when we left that meeting, the HOA said we would prefer that the property be built with, I forget what it was, 12 to 15 properties at the time. So although the current development, we were not aware of it, we certainly are not in favor of the development as has been approved at the city council meeting.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, I'd like to turn, if you wouldn't mind, if you'd grab from the table out there one of those forms for us. I'd like to call on Alex Blue for the city council liaison report. This body last met in December, so this goes back to items from the December council meeting that followed our meeting.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you can see on your agenda item the 2 items that had previously gone through planning and zoning went to the city council. You can identify that the final plat for the Iron Horse Townhouse subdivision, which at that point was just the final plat, the site development and all the rest of that had gone through in previous meetings. So this was just the final plat for approval. As recommended by planning and zoning, it sailed through as the same way through city council. Also, the second item, the request by Kyle Holtz for approval of the master sign plan. You may recall that this body here had a lot of concerns with the original presentation that he came to. It did go to city council. However, by the time it got to city council, they had converted it from individual signs on the wall and also a monument sign to a master sign plan, which conformed with all of the requirements that this body had been going back and forth with Mr. Holtz about. And so as a result, the one single master sign plan for the signs on the buildings only went through city council unanimously.
Questions for Alex? Alex, the zone for the Iron Horse townhomes, what zoning classification is that?
It's townhouse.
It's townhome, right, so.
The history on that, and I know that's not part of this topic, but it is one of the agenda items. So that property was zoned townhouses when that original development was designed and approved in the San Antonio jurisdiction prior to that entire Iron Horse area being traded by the city of San Antonio to the city of Helotes in exchange for other neighborhoods. And so when it was annexed into the city of Helotes, that zoning was that way. I do recall that there was an attempt at some point by Man Development a few years later to rezone that property to business property with their intent to build some retail outlets, which the then council, and I don't know who was on it at the time, the then council did not approve. There was a lot of objection from the residents of Iron Horse Canyon to having businesses at the entrance to their property. The then council denied that, and it returned to, or it never changed from its original townhouse zoning.
Thank you. I think that's about a decade ago at least.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Okay, turn to item number, thank you, Alex. Turn to item number 5 this evening, which is discussion and action on the minutes from our regular meeting, December 3rd, 2019. You received a copy of this in your packet of materials. If there are edits or corrections, please bring those to our attention, or we can have a motion at this time.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Michael.
Move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission dated December 3rd, 2019, as presented.
I'll second.
Motion is to approve the minutes as submitted from the December 3rd, 2019 meeting. All in favor of the motion, please signal aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. All right, item 6 this evening is discussion and action on a request by Harvest Real Estate for approval of a wall sign pursuant to Code of Ordinances, Chapter 98, Section 72, that's zoning, Old Town Helotes Special District, subparagraph G6B2, commercial signs projecting wall, hanging, or in on windows located at 14743 Old Bandera Road, Suite 11-101. I'd ask city staff, is there any additional comments beyond what was in our packet this evening, Ernest or Susan? Anything beyond what we have here?
Yeah, we've reviewed the application, and it was determined that it complies with the Old Town Hello Special District sign regulations.
Is there a representative here for Harvest tonight, if we have any questions? Okay, if we have any questions, thank you. So we'd open this up for discussion and comment. We do have a representative here. If we have particular questions that he could help answer, so I open the floor to the commission.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, please.
is it illuminated?
The sign is not illuminated according to the presentation material. And Ernest or Susan, just to confirm, the address on this type of sign is not required on this particular wall signage.
I'm sorry?
Address of the property of the business is not required, correct? Right. The comments or questions? I'd ask one other thing, maybe this, again, for Ernest, if you recall, is there a planned monument sign for the property that will, is there a monument sign for the property for all the businesses?
It currently is not.
Okay, so each individual business maintains its own sign, and that's the extent of it. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just one comment, and I'm not going to say any more about it, because I don't think it's an issue. I see in the paperwork, the square footage is 21 square feet, and it shouldn't be over 20. In my opinion, I'm just drawing it to your attention. I don't think it's anything worth worrying about in this case.
Where are you looking? If you could direct our attention to the,
Okay, excuse me. Page 2 of that item number 20, sign square footage.
so I thought the maximum square footage was 30.
Oh, was it 30? Because I saw something in here, it was
32.
highlighted, it was 20.
20 feet high.
I read the wrong thing, my apologies. Okay. Never mind.
So we're good? 32, so.
Yeah, okay, it's not an issue, I misread something.
Okay. If there are no other comments or questions, motion would be appropriate.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Do I have to read the whole thing?
Yeah. might as well.
Okay. There we go. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve, or I guess recommend approval.
Yes.
On discussion and action on a request by Harvest Real Estate for approval of a wall sign pursuant to Municipal Code of Ordinances, Chapter 98 zoning, Section 98-72, Old Town Helotes Special District, subparagraph G6B2, commercial signs projecting wall, hanging, or in/on windows located at 14743 Old Bandera Road, Suites 11-101, Helotes, Texas, 78023.
Is there a second?
I'll second it, or either way.
I'll let Michael have that. To clarify, you're recommending approval on this, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion, Jason or Mike or anyone else? So the motion is to recommend approval of the request by Harvest Real Estate for a wall sign pursuant to Code of Ordinances, Chapter 98, Section 72, subparagraphs G6B2. property located at 14743 Old Bandera Road, Suite 11-101. All in favor of the motion signal aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion is approved, and it will go to city council. Somebody help me on the date. When is the next council meeting? February the 13th is when the final determination will be made for that. Okay, well, that appears to bring us to the end of our agenda for this evening. Ron, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
may I make a motion to adjourn?
In a second, all in favor of adjourning, signal aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned at 7:16.